Trump's next court date is set. Also, the January 6th committee is destroying evidence now that Trump's legal team has subpoena power. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ANN, American News Network. I'm your host, Vlad. Let's get right into it. Number one, Trump's next hearing in the document scandal case is set for this Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Florida. This is going to be the hearing where they're going to set a trial date, hear any motions, and both sides are going to give an update of where they are in the case. But something much bigger is happening. We know that Donald Trump was indicted in Washington, D.C. for January 6th for talking about election and questioning it, which I never knew that in the United States you don't have the freedom of speech to ask questions. I thought we were living in a democracy. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this, keep moving, I want to tell you this. We truly are right now living in a democracy. When you see tyrants building up a police state, arming the IRS, opening borders, right? The border's open, economy is falling. You are not allowed to speak against the agenda of the elites. You're living in a democracy. Joseph Stalin said that his communism, Soviet Union way was the greatest democracy ever. North Korea, Kim Jong-un right now says that they have the best democracy in the world. China right now says that they have the greatest democracy in the world. So when you see things going wrong, the economy breaking, the middle class being just completely obliterated, give the Democrats a round of applause. They achieved democracy. Because democracy is fake freedom. You have big choice when you look at the McDonald's menu, but that's your freedom of choice right there. But in a constitutional republic, that's what we need to return to. All right. So now that Donald Trump's attorneys have subpoena power, right? So when let's back up a little bit. When the January 6th committee was rolling out, they did their investigation. The whole point of it was they wanted to charge Trump. They wanted to make sure Trump is never allowed back in office. They even actually, when they were done with their investigation, if you guys remember in their final report, they actually said, we come to the conclusion, we think that Trump should never hold position of office. We know exactly what they were doing. Come on, we're not blind. But they didn't find anything to charge him with. They didn't find anything to indict him with. It was a whole big nothing burger like it usually is from the grifter left and the rhinos. So now Trump's legal team is celebrating that Trump was indicted on this election and J6 thing. Now they have subpoena power, and the January 6th committee is destroying their own findings. Let me get right into my notes and read this to you. President Donald Trump dropped a bombshell report on his Truth Social platform that the sham committee oversighting the investigation of the January 6th Capitol riot has destroyed their documents and records illegally. On Tuesday, Trump wrote on his Truth Social, so now that I have full subpoena power because of the freedom of speech sham indictment by crooked Joe Biden, deranged Jack Smith, and the Department of Injustice, it has just been reported that the unselected January 6th committee of political hacks and thugs has illegally destroyed their records and documents. This is unthinkable, and the fake political indictment against me must be immediately withdrawn. The system is rigged and corrupt, very much like the presidential election of 2020. We are a nation in decline. Now, here are some notes I took from the Gateway Pundit. The Gateway Pundit previously reported that Dr. Jan Halper Hayes, during a recent interview, said that Special Counsel Jack Smith made a huge mistake in indicting Trump related to January 6th incident because it gives him the power to subpoena people. Here's a quote from him. They've made a huge mistake with this one. Because even though we thought what was going to happen was they were going to go after him for treason or sedition, They did criminally charge him, but they didn't go to that extreme. As a result, he has due process, so he can subpoena people and bring things in. She said, Trump was hit with 4 counts in Jack Smith's January 6th case: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. Literally, he's been indicted for what they did. Conspiracy against rights. Joe was not chosen by the people. The dude that is sniffing children wears a diaper. And people can argue with me whatever they want. I got some intel. Dude, that when he goes, he's the president of the United States. The Queen of the UK dies. He's at her funeral and he's sitting in the 14th row. No, it's not him being humble. I've seen some libs say, well, he's just a humble man. That has nothing to do with being humble. That has to do with, be quiet, boy. Get in line, puppet. Get in line, puppet, and be obedient to your masters. So what are they doing with deleting information? With their findings, what are they doing? You want to know what they're doing? They figured out through their sham investigation that Trump did nothing wrong. That's why they didn't indict him. That's why they didn't suggest that Trump should be indicted for January 6th when the Unselect Committee was done with their hearings and proceedings and investigations. There was no, they didn't say, oh, we think he should be jailed for this. None of that. And they know that their own findings and their own evidence is going to acquit Trump from all of this. They know it. So now Trump's attorneys are giving it to him and putting pressure on their necks to get their own findings, to use their own findings against them. They're destroying them illegally. When you fight the swamp fights back. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The swamp is literally fighting for their existence. They are fighting for their lives. They understand. One of Trump's ads that came out about 3 weeks ago where he says, this is truly the final battle. They know it. We know it. Just like we understand that 2024 is our last chance or we lose America forever. We either win and save our country or we lose and we lose our country forever. And when the United States goes down, the rest of the world goes down. Trust me, I've been all over the world. I was born in Kyrgyzstan. We came here when I was very young. We are now proud citizens. We came here through the due process. We used the front door, we didn't hop over the gate. So when I hear people telling me, well, how can you be against immigration when you're an immigrant? I'm not against immigration. I'm super pro-immigration because there are people out there in the world, like my family. When I was a kid, I saw how my father worked and would have to travel to Germany 6 months out of a year just so that we would survive. And then we heard about this great country of America where there's opportunity and there's work and there's freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And my father sold everything. We applied, we waited in line. It was a 5-year process. We came here. We lived here under a permanent visa for 10 years. Then we applied for citizenship and became proud citizens. I'm for immigration, but it's got to be done the right way. It's got to be done legally. You got to go through the door. You need to be accepted. You can't force your way in. You're supposed to be accepted and invited in and taken in. But hey, when you come here legally, you don't get all them benefits that you do if you just walk up to the border. We didn't get none. We didn't get no free phones, no cash, no free rent. Dad, 0 English. 3rd day in America, my dad starts a roofing job at like $4.50 an hour. Well, this was back in 98, but So I'm pro-immigration, I'm pro-life, but I'm against illegal immigration. And we understand that if we, in 2024, we lose our country, the rest of the world goes down. But just like we understand that, they also understand if they lose, their globalist, demonic, satanic agenda is done. The patriots win. The freedom-loving Christians, Muslims, even non-believers, but those that love freedom and freedom of speech and freedom of religion will win. And the rest of the world hangs on the balance of the United States and the United States 2024 election. So is Trump a threat to democracy? Yeah. Good. Because we're not a democracy. The word democracy is not even used a single time in the Constitution or in the Declaration of Independence. Not even once. Kyrgyzstan, the country we fled from, they consider themselves a democracy. Do a little Google researching on Kyrgyzstan, right next to Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, China. Do some research. Read about democracy. There's a video on YouTube of Joseph Stalin's speech that was recorded and translated about democracy. He'll tell you all about democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fighting to be and remain a constitutional republic, a light to the world, a hope to the hopeless. And this is why they're going after Trump. Because right now, and somebody asked me this question yesterday, and they said, do you believe that, is there anybody else in the field that can do what Trump can do, but just not have all the problems? I said, no. No, the reason he has all these problems is because he's doing what he's doing. It's not, he didn't divide the country, they did. They told us that he's a Russian agent, and half the country believed it. But then the same guy that told us that Trump is a Russian agent, just yesterday, in a federal court, took a guilty plea for colluding with Russian intelligence and laundering money for them. But do we hear an apology for being lied to? No, they're not going to apologize. So the problems that Trump carries with him, the problems that everyone says, are the problems is because of what he's doing. If anybody else comes in and starts doing what he's doing and fighting for this country like he's fighting for this country, they're going to have the same problems too. Same indictments, same fake news, same media going after him. And then it'd have to be regular people like you and I who would be like, you know what, I've had enough. I'll start doing my own research and share whatever I find, because what the news is telling me is not what I'm seeing in real life. They're telling me Bidenomics is working and everything's great, but then I go to the gas station or the grocery store, I see a whole different picture. Reality is much different from what they are actually saying. Ladies and gentlemen, had to get some things off my chest this morning. I want to thank the sponsor of this channel, Mr. Michael Lindell, with his company's My Store and My Pillow. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a link to my merch store down. There's links to My Pillow and My Store down below in the description. Use promo code ANN. There's also a link to my merch store, MAGAmerchus.com. Get you a patriotic t-shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump 2024 or sooner.